Okay, so we're going to talk about Libya. Libya.
Wonderful country.
Well, you've been there more recently than I have, but we've both been there both together and since the war many times. I've been there many times prior to the war. As have you. You served there, for goodness sake, and lived and served there. In Gaddafi's era.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. I mean, Gaddafi...
It was quite awful.
Yes, it was. Well, quite awful. You were confined, weren't you? You couldn't, as diplomats, it was very difficult. You were confined to Tripoli, pretty much, I guess. And Gaddafi was what he was. I mean, he was a dictator par excellence, and he certainly dictated. He did whatever whim came his way, changed the names of the months and made everybody...
Jamahiriya, absolutely.
Yeah.
Coined a whole new term for nationhood.
Yes, he wrote his own green book.
Beit La Sakanu. We could have one house, that's it.
Yeah.
Overnight. Very great chaos.
Oh.
Painted the main square of the city green. Blew up a mullah's tomb in the process, middle of the night. And extraordinary.
Extraordinary man.
Also, I remember one day I went to visit somebody in one of the ministries who called him up for making an appointment. He was very apologetic and said, "Well, please do come, Mr. Mark, but I'm afraid you'll have to sit on the floor." And so I went and said, "What happened to your furniture?" Well, the great leader decided we weren't working hard enough, so removed all of our office furniture, our typewriters, everything. They had typewriters in those days, boys and girls, and made sat on the floor. A little Bunsen burner, had our coffee, a little Bunsen burner on the floor. I was very embarrassed, but that was Gaddafi's way.
Yes. And then we had the revolution. We were there, but you and I together, and we went in that amazing trip. I remember that first trip after the uprising against Gaddafi, and Gaddafi was still alive at that time. We had safe Gaddafi leading forces on one side on the attack on Misrata. And we went in through Tobruk. We drove up through Alexandria, went across through Tobruk, and then right across to Benghazi. Amazing trip. It took us days, and amazing people, full of passion, but
hope, a lot of hope.
Wow.
Which we also found during our later visit. A couple of years later, we went back to Misrata.
Yes.
Remember our visit to the university?
Yes.
Thriving university, Misrata. One thing Libyans like, first of all, very deeply religious people, profoundly religious, but they very much prize education. And going to the University of Misrata and talking to students was one of the big highlights of that trip, I remember. And the female students particularly were very vocal in their sentiments of the way they wanted to build their nation. And the men agreeing with them that they were the young people, they put their lives on the line to force a change to the regime, and they wanted to make sure their elders and those in power now did not repeat the mistakes of the past. And that unfortunately has been what's happened since then, since 2013. The mistakes have been made since the past. But during my visit to Tripoli in March, the city is thriving once more. This was just before General Haftar decided to try to take the city, but there's a great hope amongst business people. The oil companies are very much trying to reinvigorate their pipelines and their destroyed infrastructure. The commitment of the average Libyan to rebuilding his or her country is very, very impressive, and something deserving of support of everybody, both expatriate Libyans outside and other countries which like Libya as well. We should try, all of us, to rebuild that country as quickly as possible. There's no reason why that should not be successful.
Well, except for the fact that we have this ongoing multi-dimensional civil war.
Terrible.
I mean, the military forces, the prime military forces, I would assume, are Haftar's so-called Libyan National Army, the militia he leads, and the Misratan militia, which is sort of loyal to the internationally recognized government, although it's independent of it. It's not...
Well, they very strongly coordinate with it and support it. I think it's the key thing, as do other key militias in the western part of the country. I think they are very discouraged at the way they've had to shed enormous amounts of blood the last couple of months in fighting back Haftar and his foreign-supported militias who are trying to take cities on. I think it's like 700, 800 people have died of the civilian and military casualties in this most recent conflict. That's an amazing amount of people who've suffered. And they don't need more martyrs. But unfortunately, many countries, many Western countries, are supporting Haftar, as are some Middle Eastern countries. And we all know who they are, and they frankly, I think, should reassess their positions and come on board to try and inform. Again, the UN has a process. They've been trying to bring forward a unified political process where Libyans can discuss the way forward in a very diverse country, but there's no way why that process shouldn't be pursued and succeed.
Yes, and it is. I mean, we in a perfect world we need not just the two major military groups, but we need to bring in the groups with political support.
I think the best word that would be very problem. Yeah.
Two of the major groups, other than the Mizratim, those that allied to the internationally recognized government, and those that sympathize with General Haftar and his side, two of the other major forces are people who are sympathetic to what we call the Muslim Brotherhood, although they go by different names in Libya, and that's one group, and then there's another group of mostly perhaps tribal people and so on who are sympathetic to figures such as Saif Gaddafi,
yes,
the son of the former dictator of Libya, and the difficulty is for Westerners is to see a process in which these are allowed to participate as well as the fighters, isn't it? I mean, you need those in, don't you?
I think in an ideal situation, it'd be best to have all these different elements at the table. I think that could be arranged, orchestrated, but it would take the full backing of, again, a unified Security Council to do so. In the last vote, the United States would not support the Council resolution, which tried to bring a little bit more order to the situation in Libya. I think the U.S., France, UK, China, and Russia all have to come on board and bring together Italy and Germany and other key countries, and Turkey as well, and Egypt, all countries which have such a key role to play in the future of Libya.
Yes, there's so many countries involved: UAE, Saudi
exactly,
Arabia,
yeah.
and France. To point it, yes, Italy. I mean, it's very hard to see a way of. Well, you need almost a big brother to come in and. United States. Could we hope the United States?
Well, I don't know if the United States is in that role. We certainly be very supportive of that. But I think that the key thing is that we only focus on countries like Libya and Yemen when they get in our way, get in our face in the news media, etc. These are not in the news media yet. I mean, Yemen was a forgotten war until about a year ago, and we still don't have much coverage of what goes on in Yemen, except we see these dreadful pictures of starving kids. In Libya, you see very, very few films of what's happening there. And yet I think we have got to prioritize some of these issues, which have been long-standing sores. We've got to find ways to cure that problem.
Yeah, because if you can't solve something like Libya, then what hope have you ever of solving something like Palestine and Israel, which is much more, well, it goes back...
For 70 years.
Yeah. I mean... So yes, you should be able to.
Libya is a country of 5 million people. They are very homogeneous in terms of their religious outlook. They're concentrated along the seacoast largely. There are different groups in the south. It is a country which should have a very prosperous future. The people are engaging. They're intelligent. They want to have a good future. They need leadership to do that, and we've got to help them find that leadership. If it's not there now, we have to help them find it.
Oh, bless you. Well, thank you. That's a good point on which to conclude that thought. Is very powerful. Thank you, Mark Hambley.
Thank you.
Okay.